I want to write a book about three things. And there will probably be some fictional elements in there because I don't know how to write without fictional elements creeping in around the edges. But it's going to be about, I want to actually tell people about Shenzhen, what he did, the process, what real Buddhism is, bringing Buddhism to China, what happened, Mahayana Buddhism and all that. And the fact that you have one man who did an amazing 7,000-mile round trip that should have been impossible, and he survived. And Cambridge, he wrote about it, which is amazing. Back then, we have his letters and his journals about his journey in the 7th century, back in England, where we're wearing skins and eating things that couldn't run fast enough. He's writing these beautiful essays. So it's going to be about that. It's also going to be about monkey and the journey to the West, what it is culturally, what it means. And also it's going to be about me going to China. I don't think I could put China in a book, but I think I can put me going to China in a book. The journey to the West. There is a reason why it is one of the classics of literature. You head out into the worlds of literature and there are books you want to preserve. And while I am not 100% convinced about the Red Chamber, the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, I kind of like the Outlaws of the Marsh. But, people going, these are the great works of literature, these are the classics of Chinese literature. There is a reason why the 100 chapters of The Journey of the West have worked as well as they have. Those amazing characters, the wonderful stories, the intricate plots, this glorious thing that edges and jerks from mysticism to Chinese culture, from Taoism to Buddhism, from Confucianism, and always journeys on with this wonderful magical folk Buddhism, taking, a monkey god. I mean, he's not even... I love the fact that he is a monkey god, and everybody knows he's a monkey god. And I wound up in monkey temples in Singapore where they worship him, and they're Taoist temples, but they really don't mind that he's a Buddhist hero because he's the monkey god. But yes, there was definitely a moment in there where I thought, what if I just wrote A Journey to the West? And there's a story that I'm playing with right now that I've started writing almost as a 5-finger exercise for the book, where I'm doing a journey to the West. I just did a what if. I said, what if Buddhism had moved a lot further west? And, it had become problematic and unfashionable and dangerous to be Buddhist in India a lot further, and they kept moving west until they got to Ireland. And so what if the Journey of the West went all the way to Ireland? And I'm writing a short story that's kind of fun from Sandy's point of view as they're in France getting into trouble. It's kind of fun.
You adapt a lot of classic children's stories like Snow White and the Narnia series. Can you just walk us through the thought process, why you come up with these things?
You make the fundamental mistake here of assuming I have a choice. Honestly, the thought process on something like Snow Glass Apples is a lovely example. G.K. Chesterton, the English writer, said many years ago that you can look at something 999 times, but if you look at it that 1,000th time, you run the risk of seeing it. And Snow White, story that I had known, encountered 1,000 different ways during the course of my life. And I was lying in the bath reading Neil Phillips's Penguin Book of English Folk Tales, and there was a version of Snow White in there. They were robbers, not dwarves in this version, but it's very clearly Snow White. And at one point she's hanging around with these robbers, she dies, she's in the coffin. And then it just mentioned, there was just a line from it where it said something about her going from girlhood to womanhood in the coffin. And then the prince rides up and looks at the dead body and goes, well, I'm in love, I must take this back to my castle with me. And I thought, that's a very peculiar thing to do. I've encountered this without thinking about it 1,000 times, but what what kind of prince really says, whoa, that dead girl in the coffin, she's kind of hot. I'm bringing her back with me to the castle. And everyone goes, oh, all right, good prince shit. And then I thought, and the moment that I thought like that, and I thought, and for that matter, what kind of person has skin as white as snow and lips as red as blood and hair as black as coal and can lie in a coffin for 6 months and then get up again just fine? So suddenly I have this version of Snow White in my head in which she's a vampire, he's necrophile, and I think, right, well, I'll just tell it from the point of view of the Wicked Queen, and I will demonstrate that actually the big problem with history and folktales is that they are written by the winners, and that the problem with the Wicked Queen was not that she was wicked, it was just she did not go far enough. You know. Obviously, trying to say, yeah, we have to cut out her heart was a very sensible thing to do. The great thing about collaborations is they are always accidental and they are always organic if they're going to work. Terry, the collaborations that I've enjoyed most so far have been obviously Terry Pratchett, which was amazing, and I think Amanda, working with you on your album and your book. I like doing that. That was brilliant. Amanda, by the way, can be asked questions too, and will answer at length and articulately. I'm really hoping to work with Stephen Merritt of the Magnetic Fields fame. He did an adaptation on Broadway of Coraline, or just off Broadway, but it was in Broadway, of Coraline, and I've been a fan of his forever, and we're planning a musical right now, which I should have started. We had a few days together in my house. We sort of plotted something out, and he is waiting for me to do some work that I will do the next time I look around and go, hey, I've got 2 days with nothing to do. And but really looking forward to working with Stephen Merritt. But honestly, the best collaborations come absolutely out of the blue. And some of the things that you think would be perfect collaborations aren't. David Lynch and I were once put together on a project, and which began with the idea of an audio series for the web, and then David decided that he wanted it to be a movie, and I was going, this is so exciting, I'm going to write a David Lynch movie, I'm working with David Lynch, he is one of my heroes, oh my God. And I'm taken in, and I go and meet him, we've spoken on the phone and stuff, but now I'm spending, I'm at David Lynch's house, and we're talking, and he's saying, okay, so Neil, I think I figured out the whole of the shape of the story. And I'm going, great. And he says, okay, so in the first part is going to be the stuff that we talked about where the family vanish and the guy goes looking for them. And then in the second part of the story, we're going to be somewhere completely different with another family driving through Europe, and we're going to follow them through Europe. And I'm thinking, okay, so how is this thing going to tie together? And he says, and in the third part, we now follow the detective who has gone to Europe, and now he's gone back to the original house, and he walks through it, and it's completely empty. And then he comes out, and we pull back, and we are on the moon. And that was the moment I said, this is not going to work. I'm not going to be able to collaborate with him. This is completely driven by what he sees as the next image, and I'm completely driven by the need to make a story that is satisfying, makes sense, and delivers something to people. I can't start a detective story and then end it with, and we are on the moon. End of story. So
I was going to say Planet of the Apes is pretty satisfying.
Yeah, but this starts in this isn't a and we're on the moon and that means anything. It's just we're on the moon and you're in a David Lynch world.
But that's exactly the point. I feel like that's
I know that's
the
exactly
David Lynchiness of David Lynch.
Absolutely, but that was exactly why I realized that it couldn't
You like things that make sense.
No, and I love David Lynch things, but I realized that I couldn't get in there and build
He does
it.
that. I think that's the thing. It's going to be hard to collaborate with David Lynch when, you know... And actually, David Lynch claims that everything that makes no sense to anybody else actually makes complete sense to him. But it means that, you know, working with someone like that when they have a complete internal sense of sense-making, it's going to be hard.
I just think sometimes, yes, but I think, and I'm sure there are people out there who would collaborate with him brilliantly. But it's like, it really is that thing of, Terry Pratchett and I, nobody particularly thought we'd be a great collaborative team, and actually we are, because he's like a sort of a low C and I'm a high C or whatever, and we play it together and it resonates. Then there are some things where you're just going, no, that is actually a C and that is a B flat, and it's not, doesn't go well.
Bounce off of each other.
Exactly.